Yo guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. In today's video is going to be a quite different video. That's one. And two, it is going to be a quite of a long video because this project has been in the works for almost a few days, which has been like 3 or 4 days, probably the longest that I've ever worked on a video. So yeah, this video will be quite long. It will be very informative, and I do hope that you guys were going to enjoy it. However, before we start this video would have never been possible without our Discord member and our friend, Mr. Marine Velvet. Now, Mr. Marine Velvet deserves all the support, all the credit for this amazing PvP help that he has given me, and we're going to be showing some clips off of him. Again, thanks a lot for Mr. Marine Velvet for the possible help that we got from him. Without him, this video would have not been possible. So again, massive shout out to him, and massive shout out to our Discord members that have also helped us make this possible. So, today's video we will be discussing every PvP character that has been released in 2024. This video might be out at the end of 2024 or in the beginning of 2025, so either way, I wish everyone a happy new year. So, we're going to start today's video. So, before we go ahead and show the first character, this video will be very in detail, very in depth, and we will also show you the meta of that character. Why is it meta or why is it not meta? What are the weaknesses, what are the strengths, why did it not end up being meta for long, and so on. So yeah, let's go ahead and start with the first character that was released this year, which is Madeline Pryor. So Madeline Pryor, so when she was released, she was a great meta, but with a very high price tag. Now, if you go onto YouTube and try to find any sort of tests about her, it is all outdated because of a Pierce nerf that happened on a certain update, which I am not sure when that update was, but I know that there was a Pierce nerf at a certain point. So, the tests, most people have used a Brilliant Authority, because that Brilliant Authority makes her a great counter against a Greed Adam at tier 4 and a Wolverine counter. So she's able to counter both Adam, which has a Greed, and Wolverine. So she also has a long iframe and probably one of the strongest counters in the game. She can be avoided through manual play. However, if you do not have debuff removal, all her skills will be able to kill you with ease, no matter, even if you master manual play, she will still be able to kill you with ease. Now, her third and her fifth skill are both instant cancel. Now, her value will mostly be through her defense. The value that she carries is all through defense. So you should give her a defensive build, but we'll talk more about that later. Even though she has slow skills, she can also be able to tank multiple skills at once. You may say that since she's able to be a very defensive character, and she has the longest and the biggest defense in the game, and that should make her great. Well, no, that does not make her great, nor top 5, nor anything, honestly. Because even if she has the strongest counter in the game, she still can be countered by high defensive characters, such as a Conquest Sentry or Thanos, which makes her outside of the top 5. However, she is much harder to kill than Jean, because her skills do not carry damage counters by reflect, such as Jean, who does carry the damage counters which are affected by reflect. Her tier 4 is kind of glitched, because every time you use her striker skill, the teammates will be able to also pop their striker skill, even if it's not charged, if I'm not mistaken. That's because her striker can pop up much faster than any tier 4 PvP character. Her best CTP should be an offense, such as greed, and yeah, she will need a greed to so that you can make her offensive, because she does also carry some value through offense, not just defense. Now, I will show you the following clip, which again, we will thank Marine Velvet for these clips, and you should give him a lot of support. So, as shown, she does have immortality, which is great. She also has great decreased damage received, and she has a great native, which is penetration. She has native penetration. She also comes ready with Pierce, which also makes her great. Now, this may sound like good PvP stuff, but keep in mind that this is probably the most basic PvP kit that every character should have. So, in conclusion, Madeline is not a bad PvP character, but number one, she's expensive. Number two, she needs a tier 4 to even have any sort of chance. And number three, she is easily able to get countered by a Conquest Sentry or Thanos. Which, keep in mind, Thanos is no longer as good as he used to be. So she's able to quickly die because of either Conquest Sentry or Thanos, or any high defensive character for that matters. So yeah, this was all for Madeline Pryor. That was the first character that was released in 2024. The second character that was released on 2024 is none other than Silver Surfer. Now, Silver Surfer not only got a rework that's going to be incredible for every player, it also makes him a complete PvP character, which is amazing. Even though he has 1 or 2 openings, Silver Surfer's power level is great. He is unique compared to everyone else, that it does make you want to play him manually and even fight him manually, because playing him manually is much better than leaving it on auto. Any sort of rotation you use on other characters, against him it is different because of his amazing native reflect, making it the best in the game. Although the only disappointing part about that native reflect is that it is on his tier 4, which is kind of a bummer. However, his skill set is very identical to that of Adam, however more expanded. His skills has a lot of range that aren't dimensional compared to Adam. He is a top 3 character because his damage isn't comparable to Adam, which makes him much better than Adam, and he has more damage compared to Adam. Like, that's why we cannot compare the two. Even if you have an offensive CTP, his build will most definitely, if not always, be defensive skill because of the lack of native healing. That's kind of going to be a problem for Silver Surfer, because Silver Surfer does not have native healing, which is kind of a bummer. However, his skills do high damage. His 4th and his 5th skill are both an instant cancel with 3, making them ignore Iframe. He has no issue killing everyone in a 1v1. But however, he does not have super guard break immunity. So you're going to need a debuff removal and an invincible active on him. He is great for Otherworld Battle, which explains why he is always debuffed every week, along Sentry and potentially Null. We'll come back to those two later. He gets the best defense in the game with a brilliant Conquest. You'll probably be asking, why would we add brilliant Conquest? Because he does not, as we said, he does not have super guard break immunity, so Brilliant Conquest would help him with that. He can be paired with Null and Agent Venom, making a full symbiote team that is meta, that is great and extremely good. His reflect makes him somewhat of a counter against Null. Again, we'll come back to why Null is a big deal nowadays. Now, onto the clip from Marine Velvet, which again, many thanks for him. As shown, his best CTP is again a Mighty Conquest or a Brilliant Conquest. It will give him the super guard break that he doesn't have and make him even more defensive. His cooldown is high, which means he will need to be tanked in the skills properly. So yeah, that's all we can go ahead and talk about Surfer. So yeah, in conclusion, Silver Surfer is a great PvP character, which if I'm not mistaken, he is top 3. Yes, he's top 3, because we'll talk about who's top 1 and who's top 2. And who's not better than him. So yeah. And he can take on some sentries. It just depends on how good their build is compared to yours. His best CTP is again a Mighty or a Brilliant Conquest to make up for the missing super guard break immunity, which is his only downside. His other downside is obviously the reflect, which is on his tier 4. But other than that, the super guard break immunity is also another problem. So, on to moving on to our third character, which is Angel, that was also released in 2024. Let me just go ahead and get Angel here. Angel. He got this uniform this year. Now, to be honest, there isn't much to talk about Angel, honestly, because he does lack the most basic PvP kits, such as iframe ignore, penetration, or even revive. He does not have none of these. He is missing all of that. However, the only reason that you see people using him is because in Otherworld Battle, he is used as a debuff removal, and people buy him because he has a tier 4 compared to others who do not. And he is generally less expensive than other characters, and he does have a tier 4, which many of the people who use Wasp does not. Wasp does not have a tier 4, hence why people use Angel. So yeah, that's all we can really talk about Angel, honestly, because he was not really a, let's say, he doesn't have much PvP content in him other than that debuff removal that can be used for Otherworld Battle. So yeah, on to the next character that was released. The fourth character that was released this year is Thanos, with his Thanos Wins uniform. So yeah, so despite him being a non-revive, he does not have a revive. He is a counter to all characters such as Adam, Sentry, and Silver Surfer. Unless the Sentry is a well-built greed, then he cannot take on him. So if the Sentry that you're going to play against is well built, such as having a brilliant greed or a brilliant conquest, Thanos will not be able to take on him. Thanos is meant to play manually, because if I'm not mistaken, his skills they will need to be played precisely. So unlike Silver Surfer, he only has a specific set of CTP to be great. His defense is the highest in the game when he's under debuff removal while having a very high attack in PvP. He does not have constant healing, which sounds bad for a PvP character until you realize that his healing only occurs after depending on how much you attack. So you're going to need Colossus so that you can decoy for him. Even though he seemed to have that much of a disadvantage because of the CTP restrictions and no revive, he still dominates even with 1 or 2 skills used. So if you're going to go ahead and fight a well-built Thanos, you're going to realize that it takes just one or maybe even two skills for them to even knock down your Sentry, your Silver Surfer. So yeah, which those one or two skills contain stats such as debuff removal, buff removals for the opponents, healing, super guard break, super guard break immunity, and a fairly long iframe. 3 of his skills are instant cancel, but he cannot solo them because, as with Sentry, he overrides his debuff lead, which makes him open to attack. So we're going to talk about Sentry even more later on, but with Sentry, Sentry's skills, they are going to override his lead, his debuff lead. So the same will apply with Thanos. So once that debuff lead has been overwritten, then he's going to become more open to attack. So his best CTP is a Brilliant Authority or a Brilliant Conquest because he needs the Super Guard Break immunity most of the time to win against the likes of Sentry. So people are going to recommend either Brilliant Conquest or Brilliant Authority because, again, his Super Guard Break immunity is needed. But for Thanos specifically, you're going to need a Brilliant Authority, in my opinion. However, he's still a good choice for Otherworld Battle, but not Timeline Battle, because Null, who we're going to talk about later, is now the new meta. So, we're going to go into the clip, which is provided again by Marine Velvet. So, his decreased damage received goes all the way up to 55%, making it the best in PvP. His HP is similar to that of Sentry, giving him a huge amount of HP, which will make him stay alive for a while, especially since the more you attack, the more HP you get. So you're not going to have a problem unless you face a well-built team. So, in conclusion, Thanos is not really the best PvP, however, he is not terrible. So if you have him at tier 4, then great, perfect. You're going to be able to use him for Otherworld Battle and maybe Timeline Battle, even though Null is the new meta. If you have him at a greatly built, then you will not have a problem. So yeah, his best CTP is, again, in my opinion, a Brilliant Authority, and he will most definitely need a tier 4 to achieve his best. That's why you hear that's why you see some people, or actually most people, have a tier 4 Thanos rather than a level 80 tier 3 Thanos, because you need him at tier 4 so that you can go ahead and achieve his best. So yeah, on to our 5th character that was released in 2024. It is none other than Sentry. So, Sentry, everyone has been and is still using Sentry because Sentry has been the best PvP character for the longest time until he was replaced by Null, who again we will talk about later. Unlike Null, Sentry can still stay on a tier 3 level 80 and still perform crazy good, because Sentry is not required to be a tier 4. He just needs a tier 3 level 80, you do not need to max out the gears, so that you can achieve the best as well from him. Again, do not read tier 4 him, because that will not only eat a lot of materials out of you, it will not necessarily be required for him. Especially, so again, as we said, since you're going to need him at tier 3 level 80, he's going to perform good, especially if you know how to play him manually. Then you are playing a broken character. If he is equipped with the correct CTP, he can get the skills and defense structure of Gore, the power and efficiency of Thanos, and the meta-breaking capabilities of Adam. Because as we've seen, Adam is quite broken, expensive, but he is broken. He has debuff removal all the time, as well as super guard break. He has iframe ignore every 5 seconds, which is extremely helpful in timeline battle and otherworld battles. He removes debuff all the time except the first 12 seconds, which is, again, it may seem that 12 seconds is not that much in timeline battle until you realize that some people are going to be using other characters to charge up the skill cooldown for Sentry, so that does take a lot of time. So he does have penetration, but however he penetrates all the time. He is almost impossible to eliminate. If he has a brilliant conquest, then he will negate reflect, which means he will reflect most of the damage. Get super guard break immunity on top of his native super guard break immunity under his debuff removal. So what that means is that when he's under debuff removal, he will get a native super guard break immunity. However, if you give him a brilliant conquest, he will get another super guard break immunity on top of that native one. He is also a self-lead that applies to all. His best CTP that you can give for him is a greed. Sentry can play with a conquest, but you are required, it's a must, to have him at a brilliant conquest if you're going to put conquest on him. So that's why greed is recommended to put for Sentry. Compared to greed that can be normal on mighty. So greed, when you equip it to him, you're going to either just need it at normal or mighty, but for conquest you're going to need it at brilliant. When he has greed, he can one-shot pretty much everyone. He can be the best on manual, which is great. However, here comes the one weakness that we already talked about with Thanos, is that he overwrites his debuff removal with his own skills. So that's the only weakness that Sentry does have. Onto the clip from Marian Velvet, which again, many thanks for. As shown in the video, he is using a Mighty Greed, which is basically able to one-shot opponents if played correctly on manual. Not only does it maximize his attacks, in some cases, his ambush stat, which is in the Mighty Greed, gives him an extra defense, which can be very, very helpful. So yeah, in conclusion, Sentry is the second best PvP character, or will be the best especially for you if it is played correctly on manual. So yeah, his best CTP is a Mighty or a Brilliant Greed or Brilliant Conquest. Keep in mind, Brilliant Conquest is the only conquest that you can give for Sentry, because Mighty Conquest will not be that much of help. Because I have Mighty Conquest on my Sentry, and he did not make that much of a huge difference compared to when he had just a normal PvP obelisk. It sounds like he did something, but again, he will work much better with Brilliant compared to a Mighty or a normal Conquest. So yeah, that was all for Sentry. We're going to be moving to our sixth character that was released this year, which is Quicksilver. So yeah, Quicksilver also has a tier 4, obviously. So in all honesty, really, Quicksilver isn't great, really. His defense and his healing are both terrible, which is not what you need for a PvP character. However, he can be able to one-shot many characters. He is probably the best pick for Otherworld Battle, since he doesn't get debuffed as much as many of the other meta characters. On top of that, adding him to Otherworld Battle also guarantees him a kill, since he prioritizes his best skill to use on Otherworld Battle. He may need his artifact to have his dodge work, but it can work outside of characters with greed. So the characters that don't have greed, it will work, the dodge will work, but characters with greed, it will not work. He has some of the best deep buffs, and his damage collective is better than characters like Deadpool, even at tier 3. So again, we're going to talk about Deadpool later on, but his damage collective and his debuff is better than Deadpool, even at tier 3. So, his value derives from Conquest Adam, where he is able to kill him twice. He has a variety of options through CTP, since he just needs a damage proc and is ready to go. So yeah, he does have a variety of CTP choices, and his value comes from a Conquest Adam, which he will be able to kill him one time, and then he's going to kill him on revive again. So he is a debuff master, and can and will do stun locks for an entire 2 rotations. So yeah, on to our clip from, again, none other than Marine Velvet. So as we have mentioned, he has cancelable skill, which 5th is his cancelable skill, with an accumulation of damage while attacking is incredible. His 4th is an ignore iframe that gives heals, removes all debuff, increases all stats. His 3rd gives him invincibility, although requiring a small delay compared to his previous skills that are instant cancel. But that mixed with debuff removal gives him a small super guard break immunity. Now, in conclusion, he isn't the worst we've seen, but he could be used mainly for Otherworld battle, but not Timeline battle. People used him in Timeline battle and he was not the great. He was not the best. So his best CTP will range for a lot, because it can go from greed to conquest or even energy, because he is very proc friendly. But keep in mind, those are supposed to be mighty, since especially Conquest, Conquest doesn't get that much value from Conquest to Mighty Conquest. Brilliant is required, but for Quicksilver, you could potentially just give him a Mighty Conquest if you want. So yeah, that was our 6th character. We're going to be moving on to our 7th character, which is Invisible Woman, which I am not 100% sure where she can be, so I'm just going to be searching for her. So yeah, there she is, Invisible Woman, who also got a new tier 4. So she isn't going to be used in a full 3-man team in Timeline battle, because that's already taken by the likes of Sentry, Colossus, Null, Wolverine, Silver Surfer. All of these can enter into a 3-man team in Timeline battle. So she also does lack a revive. However, if she's placed in a general team of 3, even if she is an insight support, so she has a CTP of insight and becomes a support, she can be a meta killer. She can kill easily with insight. However, what she needs is a bump to her damage, and then you can take care of the opponents with her 3rd skill if their debuff removal is not triggered. So do be careful on this. You can use her 3rd skill to kill most metas or deal a lot of damage, hefty damage. However, you're going to need to do it before their debuff removal is triggered. If it is triggered, you're going to need to wait until it is not triggered anymore. So yeah, her 3rd and 5th skill are instant cancel. She is very tanky and gets invisible most often. She can even be used as an Otherworld battle starter and damage dealer. She has a chargeable Awakened skill, since she is also a Transcend potential that is effective at taking down most metas in Timeline battle. She has debuff removal on her passive, which makes her ahead of Strife, who is debuffed. However, even if she is debuffed in Otherworld battle, she still can get a kill. So yeah, onto our clip from Marine Velvet. As shown, if the 3rd skill is used correctly, meaning you use it before the opponent triggers debuff removal, then you can lock the opponent in a place which prevents them from healing and damaging you, which is a very great addition on her. On top of that, the instant cancel, the skill is also instant cancel, which is a great addition as well. So yeah, in conclusion, she is a great Otherworld battle character since she barely gets debuffed. And even if she does get debuffed, her debuff is not as terrible as Strife because she can also get a kill. And can be used in timeline battle given that you know how to use her. Her best CTP is none other than a Mighty Insight, which can make her extremely powerful. So yeah, that was our 8th character. So yeah, that was Invisible Woman. Now on to the 8th character that has been released in 2024. It is none other than Mr. Doctor Doom. Now we're going to be talking a lot about this character. You will see why in just a few. So, Doctor Doom was honestly probably a terrible PvP character on release. It was so bad that the community not only attacked Netmarble to make him get some sort of buff, the update was also considered to be terrible, all because of Doom not being meta. They gave Doom a triggered counter which is outdated that even Deadpool is better at it because his playstyle is similar to that of Wolverine. Doom doesn't only need to trigger the counter, he also needs to cancel everything to try and kill a well-built sentry. And sadly, because of that, he always, well not always, he consistently misses the marks, often dies before even doing any sort of damage. Because his 3rd, 4th, and 5th skill all need some sort of a huge delay, which is not good at all because Sentry can use that to his advantage because Sentry can be able to do skill 3 and skill 2, which I think was supposed to be his rotation and timeline battle, quite quickly, that he does not even need to wait for Doom to even deal him any damage or even much damage. So he lacks Super Guard only on his trigger counter. He doesn't even have Super Guard break immunity except under debuff removal, and he does not have invincibility. He also does not have guard break immunity, which seals him off as a terrible PvP character. On top of all of that, he does not have CTP flexibility because you're going to most definitely need to head to a Brilliant Conquest to give him the missing Super Guard Break immunity or invincibility. However, all these disadvantages may seem like he is terrible. However, he does well in Otherworld battle when he isn't debuffed. In Timeline battle, he can kill Sentry, but only when his debuff removal is on. Can kill Silver Surfer but in different points of the battle. So not in the beginning, not in the end, not in the middle. It just depends on which point you're going to kill Silver Surfer. And he can be a great Wolverine counter. Terrible against Thanos, and is a 50-50 against a well-built Adam. You'll need to know how to play him because of his many delays on skill, since he is quite difficult. So yeah, manual play is most definitely required for Doctor Doom. Onto the clip from Marine Velvet. He does have native penetration and can be applied to all his skills. His 2nd skill ignores iframe and is not iframe when triggered. It does however remove buffs, but only for a second, which is nowhere near enough, especially in timeline battle. Which also means overwriting his lead, which is not great at all, especially since we talked about that with Sentry and Thanos. But the only reason that Sentry and Thanos even are able to reach meta or are stronger than him is because they have other things to make up for it. So Super Guard Break immunity, ignore iframe, all of that. They have that, and he sometimes doesn't, he sometimes does. You're going to need to give him a well build for you to even have a chance with him. So yeah, in conclusion, he's quite terrible on release. However, he did get buffed in the Deadpool and Wolverine update. But however, that buff was not really that big. So his best CTP is a Mighty Authority, Brilliant Conquest, or Mighty Transcendence, since most of them give him what he is missing for PvP. So yeah, honestly, Doctor Doom on release, he was not a liked character whatsoever. He was missing so many PvP important stuff. He was not great at all. So yeah, that was the 8th character on the list. On to the 9th character, which is Deadpool. So yeah, Deadpool got two new uniforms. So we're going to be talking about this PvP uniform that has been released this year alongside Wolverine, which we'll be talking about later. So he used to be labeled and as a top 5 meta by many people. However, he was not great because he was debuffed most of the time in Otherworld battle. He is limited in Timeline battle, even at tier 4. There is no good or specific build for Deadpool to make him great. So you're going to probably be saying, since most of these characters do not have the PvP kit, I'm just going to go ahead and give him a Brilliant Conquest. Now, it may seem good, however, it does not fix a character. It just makes him more complete. So giving him a Brilliant Conquest will not make him good. He only has skill 5 as his instant cancel, so his 5th skill is the only thing that can be cancelled. And his 4th needs a long delay. His good is in his leadership, which is bugged. Applies very good all attack and all defense on top of the debuff removal. He would be much worse than Doom if the leadership hasn't been bugged. It hasn't been a bugged stat. So because of that, his leadership is what made him not worse than Doom. So his counter is a must trigger, or else it's a one hit total. So he needs his counter to be triggered, or else you're just going to get one shotted by most metas. Using his skills rely on triggered counters, which again is an outdated feature. However, it works with him because of his immortality artifact, while having debuff that can be applied over time. He is capable of being a good lead and support that triggers debuff removal on Sentry, which again overwrites his lead, which Deadpool can use to his advantage. Using him as a support is the best way for PvP, otherwise he is a hybrid or needs a greed and must be played on manual. So yeah, his main use might be as a support. I think that's what most people are using him, the ones that are using Deadpool. Otherwise, you can go ahead and make him a hybrid, as we saw on the previous uniform, because there was 2. So the second one is his PvE one, so you're going to probably make him a hybrid. Or he will need greed, and you're going to need to play him on manual. On top of all of that, you're going to need a tier 4 to even make him slightly good. So yeah, we're going to move on to the clip, which again provided by Marine Velvet. He does have a counter and penetration and damage immunity, which may seem good until you realize it's a must for it to be triggered, or else it's basically useless. So Deadpool will need to be triggered to do any sort of thing. So yeah, it's not going to be really the best. It's going to be practically useless if it does not get activated. So yeah, in conclusion, Deadpool isn't honestly great. He could maybe be used as a lead and support, but other than that, most of his mechanic is either outdated or requires precise manual play, as we have mentioned. Because he has some probably the worst and most outdated mechanics, and does and will require precise and absolutely on point manual plays. His best CTP is either a Brilliant Conquest, which again that will not fix the character, it will just make him more complete, much better. Mighty Greed, Mighty Destruction, or Mighty Energy. He is parkour friendly but does not have any sort of CTP flexibility. So yeah, that was all for Deadpool. He's not really the best PvP, but however, he's not terrible. Now, on to our 10th character that came out this year is none other than Mr. Wolverine. Now, Wolverine is the main star, the main show of this update, because he is undoubtedly the one of the best PvP character. He is very fast and very high damaged. He is constantly in iframe, penetration, and super guard break. He will most guarantee to kill your characters. The only thing that can counter him is a reflect from decoys, ignore iframes with steel, or counters like Adam. He can guarantee to one-shot most of the characters to 1 or 2 skill, especially skill 5. That is absolutely incredible. It has penetration, and it does decrease debuff, and it does ignore dodge rates, the target's dodge rates, which is incredible. However, the most important part to make Wolverine great is that you will need greed on him, and you are going to need at minimum his 4-star artifact to even make him good, to make him guaranteed to even kill a character. Without the artifact, you're basically not going to achieve much, because the artifact will give him something very, very good, which I will explain in a minute. So yeah, you're going to need his artifact. So yeah, this works if the opposing player will have his debuff removal off. That's going to guarantee him the kill every other character. He could work with a Brilliant Authority or a Brilliant Conquest, but you will need him at tier 4 at a minimum of 20% pierce before you can get the most out of him. So most people, or actually some people, I have not seen a lot of people give him Brilliant Conquest or Brilliant Authority, but I know that some people will want that. And to do that, you're going to need 20% pierce from the cards, and you're going to need him at tier 4. So he is one of the best choices in Otherworld Battle, despite him being the debuffed most of the time in Otherworld Battle. His new uniform is a great counter against Thanos. With that new uni, it also makes him flexible to CTP choices, because in this new uniform, you're going to go ahead and get him as a hybrid. He's now a hybrid, which makes him extremely good and extremely flexible to CTP choices. Despite his old uniform having 2 additional iframe, which does make him better than his new uniform, that's where most people are going to say he has more iframes, but it only does that ever so slightly, because as we have mentioned, the new uniform, not only is it almost identical, it also makes him a hybrid, which is a great addition. He is a great sentry counter and can survive one-shots even without supports like Colossus. His 5th skill under debuff removal gives him super guard break immunity. Unlike his old uniform, his new uniform can instant cancel 4, giving you a chance to maximize his damage. So, as we have said, the skill 5 is the killer move to use. However, you can go ahead and put skill 4 and then jump straight directly into skill 5, which is going to give you so much damage. On manual, he can kill every meta possible if he is played correctly. So yeah, you're going to most definitely need to play Wolverine at manual, because without it, you are not, even if you don't play him at manual, he's still going to perform very good. But if you're going to play him on manual, you're going to probably kill almost every single meta. So yeah, the artifact is needed because it not only gives him a super guard break immunity, his HP does not drop below 1%, below 1, and he recovers 50% of his HP at the end. So it is technically immunity, if I'm not mistaken, So this is going to give him so much meta material on it. It is going to be very, very helpful. So you're going to need his artifact. So onto Marine Velvet's clip. His 5th skill gives Wolverine debuff decrease, ignore dodge rate, penetration, and increasing damage, which can easily make him one-shot any meta as we have mentioned. However, you will need to debuff the opponent so you do not activate Wolverine's artifact, which then can one-shot the opponent. So yeah, as we have said, you're going to need to debuff the opponent so Wolverine's artifact does not activate, because they will probably be able to damage him a lot, which then activates the artifact, which you do not need because it has a cooldown of 180 seconds, which is not what you need. So yeah, in conclusion, Wolverine is a top choice for PvP. He is really great and can one-shot with ease if played correctly, as mentioned. His best CTP is a Mighty Greed or Mighty Energy, since with Energy he can play PvP, but only slightly worse, and you will most importantly need his 4-star artifact. So, we're going to recap his CTP, because he's a hybrid on 1 uniform. So, if you're going to go ahead and build him for PvP only, you're going to give him a Mighty Greed. If you're going to build him for PvE, then you're going to give him for Mighty Energy. If you want to build him for PvP but still be able to use him for PvP, again, Mighty Energy is the way to go, since he still plays PvP with a Mighty Energy, just slightly worse. Now, that was the 10th character. On to the 11th character, which is Hulkbuster. Now, honestly, I do not know what to say about Hulkbuster. He is just going to be a quick wrap, since you're going to see why. So, on release, when people saw the patch notes and everything, he did seem to have a promising kit for PvP. However, he lacks penetration, which makes him useless against any character with invincibility or damage immunity, which is almost every meta in PvP, which his stats might seem great, but he does not get any sort of use because he has slow skills and he most importantly lacks penetration. And honestly, no penetration just it doesn't make a character good at all. You're going to need penetration to even have a chance against characters with invincibility or damage immunity. However, he does have one best case use, which is to be a support for machine tag allies, which gives them an increase of 35% HP. But most, if not all, machine tag characters are not even PvP related, nor are they PvP meta. He is a complete skip and shouldn't even be considered to be built, because his tier 4 is not worth it for PvP at all. So yeah, we're not going to really have a clip because he's terrible. I don't even think that you're supposed to even consider building Hulkbuster. So yeah, that was the 11th character. On to the 12th character, which is Apocalypse. Now, again, just like Apocalypse, in release he was another Doctor Doom situation by being quite bad. Although, compared to Doctor Doom, he does have the PvP necessity. They were at smaller scale compared to other metas. So, he does have an ignore iframe that is spammable, however it does low damage. He has penetration, which is great, or else he'd need a CTP destruction. So, because of that penetration, that single PvP kit that has been added onto him, that made him flexible towards CTPs, which is extremely good. So taking down metas is done similarly to Jean or Quicksilver. He is a debuff master, which makes him stun your character throughout his rotation. He does need his revive to be effective. While he does have many long iframes, all of them require delay cancel, which is not really great. The long iframes are great. They sound good. They are probably incredibly great. The delay cancel is not going to be great whatsoever, because then he's going to be countered by many characters. His passive for debuff removal is applied to all mutant, which is great for potential future updates, because on future updates we're going to get more mutants, which then he could, I guess, probably be used as a good passive debuff removal. So yeah, he can be used as a utility to trigger debuff removal leads. So yeah, we're going to be moving on to Marine Velvet's clip. As shown, he is trying to keep the opposing team's debuff so that he can guarantee a kill. There isn't much to explain since Apocalypse didn't get much testing after people found that he was another Doctor Doom situation, so they did not really just want to waste more time on another potentially Doctor Doom situation. So yeah, in conclusion, Apocalypse isn't great, although he did get buffed in the Halloween update, the last Halloween update this year. But he isn't the best to build. As for the CTP, I can only give him really a brilliant conquest, since that's the only thing that's going to even slightly save the character. So yeah, that was the 12th character. We're going to be moving on to our 13th character that came out, which is Weapon Hex. Now, honestly, we're going to go ahead and talk about her, but she is not really the best character, honestly. So, she does have many meta capabilities, such as Immortality, which can be used with zombie allies. However, the Immortality does not have any guard break immunity, which makes her vulnerable, and it does not have any sort of extra healing. She does have some solid iframes and a good awakening skill, since she has transcend potential that can one shot, especially with agreed CTP. Her fourth is a partial iframe that ignores iframes. She does also have penetration and a super guard break. She does need super guard break immunity and some damage to get the best out of her. We won't show any sort of clip needed because she isn't really great for PvP. So, in conclusion, really, she isn't great and she's not worth building, sorry. Because then she's going to also be another Dr. Doom on release, honestly. So, yeah, we're going to be moving on to our 14th character. Now, this character is worth it, which is Agent Venom. So Agent Venom got he did get a tier 4 on this update. Now, many people are going to be using him as a support. However, he does have a lot of meta abilities, such as iframe and ignore iframe. His ignore iframe can be avoided on manual. However, he has some serious worth when it comes to his new tier 4 that he got this year. He has penetration, debuffs, and a strong awakening skill, since he is also a transcend potential. These are usually overlooked by strong meta builds or a lack of CTP, but his use will be extremely great for supports, especially symbiotes. As we have mentioned with Silver Surfer, we said that you can use Agent Venom for support, which the team would consist of Null, Agent Venom, and Silver Surfer. That's because his support is absolutely incredibly necessary. So yeah, we were not going to again show a clip because his main case use is going to be a support. But do keep in mind, his tier 4 will be perfect, especially as a support. So in conclusion, Agent Venom is a great support, PvP support by the way, and he can make a good damage dealer, and overall his best CTP is a Mighty Insight, since you want to get the best support out of him. So yeah, that was all for Mr. Agent Venom. We are moving into our 15th character, which is Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man's newest uniform is not really that great, because it's not really that much of an upgrade compared to his old uniform to the new one. So if you have his old uniform, you're not really missing out on much. So he does lose an iframe compared to his old uniform, but he does get more power on his 4th and 5th skill. He gains HP on his 4th and gets less cooldown unlike his old uniform. He does have a chance to take Sentry, Silver Surfer, Old Wolverine. So yeah, you're going to need a good build to have a chance against those three. He is a great dealer for Otherworld battle or a support for Timeline battle. He does need a conquest to benefit from it entirely, and defensive supports too. Because, again, his best case is to be a defensive character. That's why we're giving him a conquest. Even though he has some weaknesses, giving him a greed lets him one-shot, which is great. He does have penetration as well as debuff cleanse, and webbing makes him great in PvP only to a certain degree, which may seem great. Again, having penetration, debuff cleanse, and webbing is great for PvP, but it only works to a certain degree, or is helpful to a certain degree. His invisibility can be handy, as well as his healed and damage procs. He is a great Adam counter and could take on Silver Surfer with Agent Venom as a support. So yeah, Spider-Man is not terrible, but he's not really a huge upgrade from his old uniform to the new one. So as shown in Marine Velvet's clip, the downside is that he takes a lot of damage and hits, and his 4th skill does deal more damage. However, it's generally a stationary skill, which leads him to die quickly because of the skill getting potentially cancelled. Using a brilliant conquest makes him able to one-shot characters like Thanos or Adam. So yeah, he is great. He does take some damage and hits, but his 4th skill does deal damage, but it's stationary, which does eventually lead him to die because of his 4th not being able to get because of his 4th being getting cancelled. So in conclusion, he is a great character and does have some good PvP aspects. He can be used for Otherworld battle as well, but he's not really a huge upgrade from his old uniform. His best CTP is either a greed or a brilliant conquest to get the best out of him. So yeah, that was all for Spider-Man. On to our 16th character, which is Carnage. Now, before we start off with Carnage, Carnage is the one who replaced Thanos and Adam, because he's the only one that comes close with Wolverine in terms of strength, hence why he was able to replace both of those two. He is similar to that of Wolverine's playing styles and hits hard with the 4th skill, which is also cancelable. His following the cancelled 4th skill is the 5th skill that will give him the ability and stats he needs all in one skill. So the skills, the stats, the damage, everything is going to be followed from the cancelled 4 all the way to the 5th skill, which is extremely good. So he is a very high damage character. He does have full iframe. He does have a damage proc. He does have invincibility, ignore targeting, super guard break, and penetration. On top of all of that, his 4th skill comes equipped with another full iframe with similar cooldowns and debuff. With the right build, if he isn't in iframe, he will be in debuff removal with constant healing. With Agent Venom and CTP of Refinement, which is his best CTP, it makes him the most defensive character in the game, which makes him a top 5 character, which as we have mentioned, it makes him better than Adam and Thanos, since Carnage is a great counter against Wolverine, as we have mentioned. His lead makes him great for symbiotes, which will make you extremely great in timeline battle. With an offense CTP like Conquest, he can one-shot characters like Adam or Thanos, as we said. He knocked both of those down from the top 5. He is flexible in CTP, which makes him great, and often people will take him in Otherworld battle since he is barely debuffed. So yeah, he is extremely good. He is a top 5 meta character for PvP. So on to Marine Velvet's clip. In his new uniform, using one skill while combining it with others makes him deal a lot of damage, which makes him flexible. So you're not only able to use just one skill, you can use that one certain skill to combine it with the other skills to also make him deal so much damage, which also makes him extremely flexible and versatile. He was even able to take down Null, which was very surprising for both me and Marine Velvet to see that he was able to take down a tier 4 Null, which is incredibly good. So yeah, in conclusion, Carnage is extremely great and was able to replace Thanos and add him in the meta ranking, taking that top 5 spot for himself. His best CTP is a refinement for a defensive build or a brilliant conquest for a offensive build. So yeah, that was all for our 16th character, and now we are moving to our 17th character, the last character that has been released this year is none other than Mr. Null. Mr. Null has been the best PvP character easily after being released, which shows how good he really is. So, unlike Sentry, who was the last PvP meta, Null does not have a short avoidable ignore iframe skill or reflect. His skills get better and better the higher you build him. He has debuff cleanse for 4 seconds and a skill that gets activated every 4 seconds, which is really good. His 5th skill is an avoidable iframe, which is potentially the largest area of effect, which is basically the range of each attack. So basically what the area of effect is that the range is that how long or how far the character can take to do damage. So for example, if a character is quite far, then Null will be able to damage him from that far distance. So yeah, his 4th skill is also a full iframe that can be cancelled, causing a debuff for a very long time. He has healing on his 2nd skill, which is very great. He has defense. His HP is slightly higher than Sentry, which makes him incredibly great. Null has immortality as any great PvP character. However, either it's due to an oversight or a glitch, instead of it lasting for 7 seconds, it for some reason lasts up to 5.22 seconds. So his immortality was supposed to last 7 seconds, but we do not know if it's a glitch or an oversight, but it does take just 5 seconds before it goes away. His 2nd skill has penetration all the time, which is incredibly useful, especially for timeline battle. Debuff removal almost always. There's even a chance that the skill can one-shot and is nowhere near avoidable, which just shows how great of a meta he is. However, he has one weakness. Just like Sentry, just like Thanos, his debuff removal is being overwritten from his passive, not lead like Thanos and Sentry. This time it's from his passive. He has a 12 second of debuff removal natively that increases his attack with his lead. He can be paired with any sort of support imaginable, which makes him extremely good. Null overrides his passive the quickest and also gets it from his skill the quickest as well. Conquest is his 2nd best, which makes him very great for PvP. However, if you're going to give him a greed, then you are guaranteed to win most, if not all, your timeline battle or otherworld boss games. He does die to any sort of debuff master, which is kind of a bummer, and he does not have any sort of native super guard break immunity, which again is a bummer, and does not have much iframe compared to Sentry, whom has both. But other than those weaknesses, he is the best PvP character that anyone can build. So on to our clip from Marine Velvet. So our clip from Marine Velvet, as you can go ahead and see, is that he's using Silver Surfer because the opponent has a Brilliant Conquest on his null. He won't one-shot him with Silver Surfer, obviously. However, he's using him to debuff null and super guard break him as well, while keeping him debuffed and super guard broken, which is great. Using null, he is able to cancel the third skill because it has debuff, as we have mentioned. The same will be said about his fourth skill. As we have mentioned, the issue is the priority. When to prioritize his fourth skill. Sometimes the fourth doesn't get enough priority to activate straight away, which will cause some problem. It will require some delay to get the fourth skill to activate. The same may apply with the third skill. His fifth, however, it has great priority, which as long as you are able to hit, the skill will activate. So yeah, to sum up everything, Null is easily the best PvP character, and his best CTP is a Greed, preferably a Mighty or a Brilliant. The more you build him, the better he will become. And to get the best character for PvP, you're going to need to tier 4 Null. So yeah, that was our 17th and last character. So that was today's video. It has been quite long, I know. However, I wanted to make the most informative and the best video possible. So yeah, if you have any sort of question, any doubt, any mistakes I made during the way, do let me know in the comments. Join the Discord server, let me know if you have any questions. And don't forget to subscribe and like, as this video did take me a long time to make. And of course, I want you to all give the support that Marine Velvet deserves, because many thanks to him and our Discord members that also helped me along the way. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.